Very interesting may come up with.
Let me know you're ready.
I'm ready.
This is Derrick Hayes here live with an exclusive Derrick interview with Dr. Peter Dumbuya. The young man is a history professor at Fort Valley State University. He's in the state of Alabama. He's a criminal defense attorney. And we're here today because in the school year 2013-2014, he's a Fulbright Scholar Program award winner. So we're here to give you this exclusive Derrick interview. How you doing today?
I am doing very fine, thank you.
And he's from Africa originally, from Sierra Leone?
That's correct.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about yourself before we get into this Derrick interview.
Well, as you mentioned, I am a history professor at Fort Valley State University. I've been teaching history at Fort Valley for over 12 years now. Before Fort Valley, I was at Tuskegee University in Alabama. And
okay.
while I was in Tuskegee, I went to law school in Montgomery, Alabama.
Okay,
so that's how eventually I became an attorney in 1999.
I have children in Montgomery, so it's a small world.
Yeah, it is. It's a very small world. Okay. So I went to law school there. I got my license in 1999, and I've been practicing law since 1999, and then teaching full time at Fort Valley State University.
Okay. So how do you handle all these things? Being a professor, being a lawyer.
Well, it's very difficult, but it's very challenging.
And then you had a family.
It is very challenging. But what I decided to do is to practice law part-time and then teach full-time.
Okay.
So that's how I've been able to juggle the two jobs.
So what made you want to apply for the Fulbright award?
Well, the Fulbright Award is one of the prestigious awards in academia, which is awarded by the State Department essentially. For outstanding university professors, sometimes even non-university professors. We call them independent scholars, so they can apply. So one of the reasons why I decided to apply was to do research in Sierra Leone, but at the same time, teach in order to promote mutual understanding between the United States and Sierra Leone. That's why the Fulbright Program was originally intended to do.
One of the great things is you get to go back to your home country.
Exactly.
You get to do the research.
Exactly.
Well, I know your time is valuable. We're going to get right into it. The D in my name is for dream. What is your dream?
Well, my dream has always been to be a very good scholar, to be a very good academic, so that I can teach, especially the up and coming young men and women, especially African American women, because I've been teaching in African American institutions. They're also known as historically black colleges and universities.
Correct.
From Tuskegee to Fort Valley State. So that is always my dream, to help especially young black men and women gain the type of education that I have.
I really appreciate that because I'm an HBCU graduate at Tennessee State.
At Tennessee State, okay.
Yes,
I'm familiar with Tennessee.
Okay, the E in my name is for education. How important is education? Well,
I don't need to emphasize it. Education is very, very important.
Right.
Not only for self-improvement. Various studies have shown that people with education tend to do very well, not only for themselves,
right,
but they do very well, especially for the community, especially the young men and women, and then for society in general. So education is very important, okay, especially in the U.S. and worldwide. Studies again have shown that
right,
those with a very good education, especially university education, tend to earn more than
right,
people without a university education.
Because it's not that often that you get to meet someone that has a law degree and a PhD, and then get to interview them. So it's a real great experience here. The R is for resource. Dr. Dumbuya, what is unique about you? What's one thing that makes you stand out amongst the others?
Well, I'm very hardworking.
Oh.
That's one of the things I've cultivated over the years. When I put my mind to something, I always try to do it very well. And I'm very consistent, I'm very persistent. And that's what I try to convey to my students.
Okay.
When you do something you don't succeed, do it again.
Right.
Don't give up.
Right.
There's a tendency, especially among young men today, if they
right,
do something they don't do very well, they give up.
Right.
I say, well, you can't give up, you have to keep trying, so you can learn from your mistakes. So those are the things, I teach myself as well as.
So you may be like the Floyd Mayweather of education, because he always says hard work.
That's what pays,
Right.
You can't get around it.
Right.
There is no shortcut to success.
Like he said, skills pay the bill.
Exactly. Exactly.
The next R is for ready. When did you know you're ready for the journey that you're on?
Well, I've been preparing since the spring semester this year, when I was informed by the Fulbright program that they have awarded me a Fulbright grant. So I have been preparing mentally as well as physically, because you have to prepare yourself mentally for what you're going to do.
So how many, is it just one person per university? How does that work? How do they decide how many people get to go?
Well, it depends upon the strength of your application, because when you apply, you also provide what is called a project statement. In other words, you tell the Fulbright people what you're going to do. So based upon the strength of your application and your statement, then they have a panel of people who decide, who gets the award and who doesn't get the award.
Okay. The I in my name is for individual. Can you name at least one individual in your network the others should learn more about, and why?
Well, there are many, but you mean people I've learned from,
or that you network with, that you know that?
Well, I have friends of mine who are also historians, especially African historians. There's one professor at the University of Texas. His name is Toyin Falola. He and I have collaborated on a few projects.
Can you say that name again? Because people may not catch it and just slow it down.
Okay, Toyin Falola.
Okay.
Toyinfalola.
Okay, he's at the University of Texas?
Yeah, he's at the University of Texas in Austin. So he's been a very good friend of mine for many, many years. In fact, he was one of my referees when I applied for the Fulbright program.
Okay.
He was one of those who wrote letters in support of my application.
Okay. That's big. Remember that name, he's a historian.
He's a historian as well.
Because in the word history, you got H-I and you got story.
Exactly.
A lot of people don't learn about their history because they don't say hi to their story. The C is for challenges. What challenges have you faced or do you see in the future?
Well, there are many challenges, especially leaving the family behind. That's one of the biggest challenges. So you have a challenge at home here in the U.S. as well as the challenges in your host institution, because you're going to be spending 10 months teaching and researching in an area where you haven't lived for about a year or so. So there is a challenge, traveling. We have to identify the people we're going to interview, and then we have to go out and do the research. When the Fulbright sends you to a host country, you're going to be on your own.
Right. I was reading your background. I read that you're going to be researching the issues of women.
On women, yes.
And why is that important?
Well, it's important for many reasons, but I only mentioned two. Given the time constraint. One of the issues I am interested in is how women were dealt with during the Civil War. There was a civil war in Sierra Leone, which began in 1991 and ended in 2002. And one of the things I learned when I was doing my research was the fact that thousands of women were raped, sexually harassed, they were forced into marriages, they were forced to do all sorts of things against their will. But what happened was, at the end of the war, especially during Reconstruction, issues having to do with women were not really addressed in the ways in which some of us historians would like to see them addressed, especially questions of rape, forced marriages, as well as other sexual assaults that many women had to endure. So what I decided to do, based upon the preliminary research that I've read, so what I decided to do is to take another step, to take another look at how women were dealt with during the war and what has been done since the end of the war to address issues of women's education, empowerment, and so on and so forth. So that is going to be my project, to see how we came up to that point, where women were subjected to all kinds of indignities during the war, and then to see what has been going on, what has happened, to address some of those problems that women face, especially in Sierra Leone.
The K in my name is for keys. You have your law degree, a history professor, family man. What are some keys to success that you can leave for others? Because people make excuses, but you making it happen. You multitask.
Yes, people make all sorts of excuses as to why they...
So what are your keys to success that you can leave for the listeners?
Well, number one, you have to know what you as the individual want to do with your life.
Right.
You know, so you have to have very clear goals and objectives.
Right.
And then number two, you have to pursue them. You have to sit down
Right.
and plan.
Right.
How am I going to achieve my goals and objectives?
Right.
And as I mentioned previously, you have to be consistent. You have to be persistent. You know, there are times, you know, when we set out goals and objectives, you know, we don't realize them. You know, some people give up, but you have to keep trying. You know, you have to find new ways of fulfilling your objectives. You know,
Right.
you just cannot afford to give up. So I would say consistency, persistency, hard work, dedication, those things eventually will pay off.
Okay. This is Derrick Hayes here with Dr. Peter Dumbuya, college professor, attorney at law, Fulbright scholar. Is there anything else that you'd like to add that we may not have discussed?
Well, I would just like to add that, especially for young men and women, there is a tendency now, especially when they go to the universities, you know, they don't apply themselves. Not that they don't have the talent, not that they have the skills or even the intellect. They just don't apply themselves.
Right.
Especially at the university level, you know, they think, you know, when they go there, just party time.
Right.
It is not.
No.
You have to do your homework.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and you have enough time to party after work.
Right.
You know, when you get your degree, you know, you can go out, you know, knock yourself out.
Right.
But at least you know you have something
Right.
to fall back on.
You gotta take care of business.
Exactly. So especially for the young, you know, African American men and women, you know, they have to be very persistent.
Okay.
They have to take education very seriously.
Do you have a website or anything, or how people can reach out to you?
Well, I don't have a website myself, but you know, they can check us out at Fort Valley State University website.
Oh, okay.
Because the website has information about your curriculum vitae, what you have done, you know, the courses you teach, you know, the papers or the books. So the website, you know, has all that information.
Okay, and I thank you for your time.
Oh, you're most welcome.
Check him out. He's gonna be out of the United States for a whole school year, doing the research to help women over in Sierra Leone. Derrick Hayes, Dr. Peter Dumbuya, the exclusive Derrick interview, and we thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.